Let me ask you a question just on this, and then we got some real meat to hit. But Bernie Sanders just said, one thing I have to win is New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
You think? I mean, first of all, that's like Ted Cruz saying, I've got to win Oklahoma and Texas. Yes.
Do I think Bernie Sanders is going to win in January in New Hampshire? No, I don't.
No.
He won last time, as you know. But you mentioned in your unbelievably long run-up to this segment that Sanders, has proposed a $16 trillion new Green Deal. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I read it, and I went over it methodically on BillO'Reilly.com last night.
Yeah.
This now transfers Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, from a socialist to a communist. If you read it, and no one will, but I did, he's basically saying that if he's elected president, he's going to nationalize the American economy so that he will put oil out of business, shale out of business, fracking out of business, coal out of business. He's going to put them out of business, all right? And then he's going to establish, the federal government, the new energy industries. This is communism. That's what communist nations do, not socialist nations. Okay.
Well, but it's
now he's joined Bill De Blasio as a comrade.
Listen, Boris, don't look like that. Listen, you can call it socialism. We all know that it's not democratic socialism, of course. But this is what Venezuela did. That's exactly.
Yeah, when you start to nationalize private business. And when the federal government says, no, you can't do this business, and we'll set up another business, not you, under our regulatory capacity, that's communism.
So
that's
Bill,
where Bernie is.
Right. Well, we know that. We know that.
But it's never been this blatant.
Well,
and did you hear a word about it on any of the newscasts?
No.
Not a word.
Okay, so here's what's really interesting. The same thing with the new Green Deal. The new Green Deal, in it, and I know you read that one as well, and I did. The new Green Deal specifically says that it is going to change the economy. Free market economy is a thing of the past, just in the new Green Deal. Now, it doesn't spell it out like it does in with Bernie Sanders, but it is the same thing. These are communists.
Well, when you say that, people go, "Oh, ho, ho!" It's hyperbole. You're overstating.
No,
we're not. I
no.
mean, this is if you really understand the mentality of the far left media, which drives all this stuff. Because if the far left media didn't approve of it, they would scorn it, and it wouldn't happen. So Bernie Sanders, if he thought he was going to get a backlash from the Democratic Party or even just liberals, not far left, just liberals, he wouldn't do this. But he knows he's got a free pass in America right now because they're so crazed about Donald Trump that anything, all right, will take anything in place of Trump. So that's where we are.
All right. So, Bill, do you think this is why the younger voters are very upset with the Democratic Party because they won't have one debate on climate change? And yet this is the center. They say it's our World War II. They say it's, the most important thing known to man, but they won't have a debate. Is it because they don't believe in it, or it will expose them as the communists that they are?
Okay. I come at this a little bit differently, Beck. I've been on a number of college campuses the last 3 weeks because my son is a junior in high school, and we're looking around.
Okay, so wait. We're coming back to that because I know what it was like when I walked around Columbia University with my daughter. It wasn't exactly pleasant. I can't imagine Bill O'Reilly.
Columbia's a whole different ballgame, but my observations from being on a number of college campuses is that most college students that I have encountered could not care less about voting or what's happening. They don't pay attention. They hate Trump, okay, because you have to. It's almost like being in Hollywood. You want to get invited to the parties, and that's and Washington, D.C. is the same way. If you want to get those invitations, all right, to show up at the party Friday and Saturday night with all your other fellow industry people in Hollywood, with all your politicos in Washington, you have to toe a line publicly, or you don't get invited. Same thing on college campuses. If you want to be with the cool kids in the sororities or fraternities, you have to toe a line. But did they know anything? I had one 30-year-old ask me the other day, and it was a social setting that I was just cruising through fast, what PC was. I swear to God, what's PC? Because I had mentioned something that I had written a book back in the Stone Age called Old School Life in the Sane Lane. Oh, what was that? I said it's a mocking of PC culture. What's PC? Okay, so my point is that all of this younger voter thing, number one, they're not going to turn out, I predict, in 2020 election. And number two, this is, again, driven by the media. Here's what the millennials think. Here's what Generation X think. They couldn't care less. They're pursuing whatever they want to do on a day-to-day basis. And so I'm not worried about that at all. What I am concerned about is that the American people cannot, and I mean that literally, get the truth about what's happening in this country anymore. No matter if you're 18 or 88, you cannot get the truth. It is just horrifying.
So with that, I want to transition to Patrick Byrne, and I want to take 1 minute and then come back. Patrick Byrne he's a friend of mine. He spoke to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett said, you have to tell this story. Look, you're not a politician. You are a citizen, and you did this as a citizen. You were asked to do it, and you have to expose it. That comes from Warren Buffett, and he's been made to look like he's crazy, and his story makes an awful lot of sense to me. I believe him. I want to get Bill O'Reilly's look at this and what it means for the IG report on the FBI that's coming out in a couple of weeks, and so much more. Bill O'Reilly, the author of the new book, I don't know, Killing Trump.
United States of Trump.
Yeah. No, it's good. I'm a little farther this week. I haven't finished it, but I'm halfway through the contents, and I have to tell you, the table of contents is one of the best table of contents I've ever read, Bill. You can get Bill O'Reilly's book now at Amazon. It comes out in just about, 40 days or so. It is the best book Bill O'Reilly has ever written. It is going to be a #1 bestseller for a very long time. It is the United States of Trump. It comes out to the 24th. Order your copy now. Back with Bill O'Reilly here in just a second. One night only. Glenn Beck Christmas Stories. It's happening in Salt Lake City, December 7th, a night which will live in infamy. You don't want to miss it. I haven't done this in about 10 years. It's the most fun we have, the hardest laughs, and I just want to tell you in advance, every story you will hear is absolutely true. No matter how crazy it might sound, it's my family. So Christmas Stories with Glenn Beck, a lot of laughs. Get your tickets now. You can find them at glennbeck.com or wherever tickets are sold. December 7th, Salt Lake City, Christmas Stories with Glenn Beck. All right, Bill. Let's get your read on Patrick Byrne and what he's saying.
All right. Set me up because I'm not that familiar with Patrick. Go ahead.
Okay. Patrick is the guy from Overstock.com, and he's a libertarian. He has a national security clearance. Don't ask me how. And he came out about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he said, listen, there's a lot of stuff in the media here that's not true about all these investigations with the FBI, and I know because I found myself kind of in a Hitchcockian way in the middle of this, and it took me until last summer when I started seeing things come out to realize, oh my gosh, I was in the center. And he came out and he said he was dating that Russian that everybody is saying is a spy. She wasn't. The courts proved that. She just didn't register as a foreign agent. And he had called the FBI 3 times. He had met her at a conference, and she's like, listen, I'm Natasha. Why don't you meet Boris? And he's like, okay. So because he has a national security clearance, he called the FBI, said, hey, she wants me to meet some friends of hers. I think she might be an agent. Is she an agent? Should I meet with her or not? And they were like, oh, no. We know all about her. We know who she is. She's not an agent. Okay, so he goes with her, and she starts to get romantic, and time goes on, and then she's like, "Listen, I really would like you to meet Boris over in Russia," and gives names of people. So he calls the FBI, and says, "Hey, I just want to give you some names. She wants me to meet these people. Are these people okay? Have you checked her out? Are you sure?" Yes, Patrick. All those people are fine. She's been checked out. We got it. Okay, 3rd time. Now, this is like a year. 3rd time he calls because she says, oh, so Patrick, while we're laying in bed smoking cigarette, I want you to know I was having an appointment next weekend with Hillary Clinton's people and also Marco Rubio, and maybe you come. And he's like, okay, that's great. Sure. He calls the FBI. I don't know if it's from the bathroom or what. And he's like, look, she's meeting with all of these people who are going to run for president. Do you want the name of the hotel or the time or anything like that? They say no. And they're like, Patrick, it's not. She's cleared. Mm-hmm. Then Trump wins. And that's when they ask him to go back and rekindle a relationship with her. Mm-hmm. He testifies to them that she's not an agent, yada, yada. Last summer, he's watching and he recognizes the name Peter Strzok. He's like, that's who is giving me these orders. And he's saying this is a deep state conspiracy with Peter Strzok. And he also said James Comey is involved.
Well, I'm a big due process guy. I mean, I'm from an outsider's point of view. And by the way, that story is so funny that you could use it in your Christmas show in Salt Lake City. Well, because I'm sure it overlapped Christmas somewhere.
Yeah, well, someplace. Look, we got the Christmas tree. It's red Christmas tree, but we like it, right, Boris?
Deck the halls.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a due process guy, and I when I commentate on anything, I don't convict and I don't exonerate. I say, okay, let's see the evidence. And if this guy's story is true, and it sounds like, why would he make this up? Because he has nothing to gain from it.
Yes, lots to lose.
Right, and he's got the details. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to somebody fabricate that. So then you get into the zone of, and this is really fascinating, does the Trump administration, including the president, really want to destroy the FBI? See, that's the question that's holding everything up here. So the chain goes Trump, Barr, Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General of the Justice Department, who's got this report already written. It's all set to go. Now, it's supposed to be out the first or second week in September, but that was supposed to be out at last March.
Sure.
Okay, so that's the chain. Trump already knows what's in the report, so does Barr. And the report is going to be what they call in the press damning to the FBI. How bad it is, I don't know. I mean, I can't possibly speculate on that.
Patrick says that Bill Barr is a giant ship that is about to take this deep state submarine in the FBI and blow it out of the water. He says that.
Well, let's hope justice is done.
Yes.
But in the process of doing all that, and remember, not only is Horowitz on the case, but Durham, the U.S. attorney from Connecticut, was appointed by Barr to specifically look at the FBI, and then Lindsey Graham, who I probably have more confidence in than any of the swamp creatures in the Justice Department. His committee in the Senate is looking at everything as well. I think Lindsey Graham is, a wild enough guy to just go out and just say anything. So the American people will probably get a pretty good idea.
Lindsey Graham is not exactly, a gladiator against corruption and cronyism.
Believe me, he is going to blow this thing sky high. I saw him a couple of weeks ago at the Trump fundraiser that I was covering out here on Long Island. Lindsey Graham introduced Trump. I mean, they're joined at the hip. So
when was that a good thing? I'm
not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying that Lindsey Graham isn't going to cover anything up. But there is a strain in Washington that says, look, do you really want to dismantle the Federal Bureau of Investigation? Because that's what this is going to do. Comey struck McCabe or all of these players that looks like violated the law, all right? They're going to fight back. They're going to produce all kinds of stuff in their defense. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be a giant mess of proportions that we haven't seen since Watergate. And this is the FBI. These are the people that protect us from terrorism. And you're going to rip this agency apart. That's what's backing everything up. So everybody knows that's happening. You indict Comey, McCabe, they're going to turn on each other and everybody else and say, look what happened here, look what happened there, look what this one did, look what that one did, look what this senator said, look what this congressman did. Because they know it all. That's what protected J. Edgar Hoover for 50 years.
I know, but I feel like it's a good thing to rip this Band-Aid off. And if we're not at this point, but if we can be logical enough to say it's not all of them, and we want to clean all of this up, it will be a good thing in the long run. We're with Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com, where you can listen to his commentary and his no-spin news every night at BillO'Reilly.com. Also, his new book comes out at the end of September. It is his best, The United States, according to Trump. Bill, let me go to Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw blasted by the Young Turks, which is, amazing. This guy is, when you're in a tank top in your mom's basement, I really don't care.
It's a good look.
Yeah,
you didn't like that look?
No,
I mean,
no. So,
all right.
He's on the Young Turks, and he blasts Crenshaw, and he's just foul and everything else.
Yeah.
And it shows where our culture has gone. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I mentioned a few minutes ago that the overriding issue and story in America today is that we can't get the truth. I mean, it's so much fog and noise, and I am getting to the point where, you asked me about Patrick. I didn't really know that much about it because I don't watch the cable news anymore. I don't learn anything from it. I should have picked it up.
No, I don't either.
I should have picked it up because I usually do a review in the morning, and I did this morning.
Yeah.
But I was concentrating on the Trump fatigue factor, which I think is going to emerge as a major story soon.
Let's talk about that. But not now.
But look, Young Turks. Okay, so this is, remember SCTV Melonville?
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
One of the most hysterical satires in the history of America, and a bunch of Canadians put it on, Flaherty and all those madmen up there. That's what this is. This is Melonville.
Well, actually, I mean, if you look at Young Turks, it had a $20 million capital infusement from, I think, Katzenberg was involved in that, but we should look.
Yeah. And Soros, I'm sure, is putting money in there.
And hang on just a second. And it is one of the co-founders that started, what is that?
Justice Democrats.
Yeah, Justice Democrats, which is responsible for the AOC mob.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that doesn't do damage. It does. And all of these things do damage. Center for American Progress is the real now vile. These are the people who tried to get Ross's name at the University of Michigan off the buildings after he gave the college $400 million. And this is a Soros agency. So yes, these people are out there. It's subterfuge. You don't know who's financing them. For CNN to give them a platform, or the Young Turks, or wherever they appear, whoever's giving them platforms, is grossly irresponsible. I mean, I did this for more than 20 years on Fox News. I never put on anyone that was irresponsible. We vetted everybody, okay? And yeah, I could have put loons on and then just yelled and mocked them like Morton Downey Jr. did. It's easy. But what we have now is we have the Tower of Babel, and we have just throw anybody on. They're going to say anything. So if you lose your eye in Iraq, then they're going to mock that. That's what this guy did, all right, on Crenshaw. And Americans, they just walk around where you would have been stoned to death 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't have done that. Now you can do anything. There are no standards of behavior.
So I think that the average person is just so sick of it, it just goes by their radar. But the media talks about it, and Google and YouTube just dismiss it. I mean, they're fine. They're fine with making money off of these guys.
What is incomprehensible is there isn't any growth in the cable news, and hasn't been for 3-4 years. Mm-hmm. Without Donald Trump, that props it up. Okay, so take Trump out of the mix, you have nothing. I mean, CNN doesn't have one program doing more than 1 million viewers for a 24-hour cycle. So you take him out of the mix, then who are they going to hate then? All right, and then they're going to have 500,000, 400,000, and so these corporations have got to know they don't have any growth at all anywhere, nothing, but yet they do the same thing every single day because they don't know what else to do. All right, and they're so untalented, so uncreative. They have to do the same thing, say the same thing, same people. It's unbelievable. And again, Trump drives 90% of cable news coverage, 75% of network news coverage is Trump. And when Trump leaves, whether it's 2020 or 4 more years, he's going to start Trump TV. He's already lining up investors to do that. Okay? Boy, if I were Fox News, where 95% of the viewers support Donald Trump, 95%, and you have Trump TV? Oh boy! So anyway, it is a madhouse, and I use that word literally. And if people are on there, they're going to hear and see so much irresponsible, deceitful stuff that my advice is just walk away, get out of it. And that doesn't mean they're all bad. They're not all bad. There are some good people, but they're getting fewer and fewer.
Tell me about Trump fatigue.
This is a real danger. If you are an American who doesn't want the Democratic Party to obtain power, then, you've got to vote for Donald Trump whether you like him or not. Okay, that's where you start. So if you're smart enough to know that the Democratic Party at this point is a party that is as far left as we've ever seen.
Communists. They are literally backing communist ideas.
More than that, economically, no due process.
Yes.
None.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you are not entitled to be innocent until proven guilty. You are guilty of whatever they want to accuse you of. No due process. Political correctness. At the University of Michigan State University, the incoming kids are being told you cannot say no problem on this campus, because if you say no problem, that indicates the person you're talking to may be a problem. So you're not allowed to say no problem. This is where this.
Shut up.
It is absolutely true. All right. So 1,500 incoming freshmen are being told they can't say no problem, and then of course they go, well, no problem, I won't say it.
That is crazy. I mean, who has so much time?
I can give you 100 more. That when you fill out your registration form to college, you don't have to say whether you're a man or a woman. You can be a dinosaur. You can be a turtle.
My daughter went in Texas. My daughter, she's 13. She just went for a physical. She needed it for play school sports, so she goes for her physical, and she has to fill out this form for the doctor, and it said, all the different genders or other. And when she came home and I said, you didn't mark that you were a big, beautiful butterfly? She said, no. And I said, next time you get the opportunity, you mark it big, beautiful butterfly, and you insist that everyone calls you that.
Well, they don't even know, the universities, how many men or women they have.
I know.
They don't know.
I have no idea.
So what's the gender breakdown? Oh, well, we got this, So getting back to why I'm ranting about this, if you think that Trump is not what you want in a president, what is your alternative? This totalitarianism? So Trump should understand that he can win by default, but every blanking day it's Denmark or it's Anthony Scaramucci.
Yep.
Anthony Scaramucci? Come on. Why you have now elevated this guy into someone who probably will sign with CNN, which is what he wanted to begin with.
Right.
So you not see what this is? But if you read United States of Trump, as Beck has done, he won't admit it, but he's done it.
I have the table of contents. Incredible.
I explain exactly why Donald Trump is compelled to do this every day. All right? He has to do it. It's almost like crack. All right? Because he gets bored. And then he's got to, I'm so bored now. Let's attack Anthony Scaramucci. Oh, come on. A lot of Americans are going to go, enough. I just need a day off from Denmark. Give me a day off. And Trump has got to know that Trump fatigue is going to hurt him unless he wises up.
Who's around him that's going to tell him that?
Nobody. There's nobody around him. And even when I speak to him, and I will absolutely tell him this stuff, all right, he registers it, and then 15 minutes later, it's gone. It's gone. So, look, he's an imperfect man, an imperfect leader, an imperfect president. There's no question. But when you go to the polls, all right, I mean, the other side is just staggering.
It's not crazy. It's dangerous. It is really, truly dangerous.
Absolutely.
You know, the New York or the Washington Post said they said that I was the biggest flip-flopper on Trump. I was the third biggest flip-flopper on Trump. And I said, on the radio the next day, I haven't flip-flopped. I've corrected where I made a mistake, and I still will tell you that it's dangerous, and he has some things that I don't like, and I really don't like, and things that I'm concerned about. But I will tell you this. It's not pro-Trump to say if these guys get in, it is a different world entirely. And
any traditional American like you and me, any traditional American would watch their country vaporize if these people got in. And the other thing I say about Trump, and I don't look at my analysis in the United States of Trump is not based on politics at all.
At all.
There's no liberal or conservative stuff in there. None. Is that he governs, and you'd never know it by his demeanor, but he is governing in a traditional way. All right, his presidency isn't out of the box. I mean, what he's trying to do with the economy and foreign policy is what other presidents have tried to do in different ways. It's not like he's breaking any Oval Office rules. He isn't. He governs the same way. And two other presidents were as transactional because Trump, and I don't want to get too boring on this. We'll get into more depth when the book comes out September 24th. But Trump is a transactional guy, which means everything he does, everything, including his romantic life or whatever, is a transaction, okay? And there were two other modern-day presidents exactly like that, Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Dwight Eisenhower. They were transactional men. They had no emotion. Neither of those guys had any emotion whatsoever, FDR or Eisenhower, okay? It was like, okay, this is what I want, or this is what I think is best for the country, and we're going to get it, and we're going to do it. And we're going to do it no matter what. And that's what Trump does. He says, we're getting screwed by Western Europe and our trade, so I'm going to say that, and I don't care if I tee him off. So he's not doing anything that hasn't been done in the past. And you wouldn't know that because the press is painting him as this hysterical guy running around breaking all the furniture in the White House. It's not what's happening.
In fact, I would go further. In some ways, he is more traditional than we've had in a very, very long time. The role of the president is not to propose new stuff. It is to take what Congress did and then sign it or disapprove. And that's what he did on health care. He was like, Congress, you want to change it, bring it to my desk.
Yeah,
that's much more traditional.
Way.
Pardon
immigration me? Is the same way. He
right.
wants a deal. He
right.
wants new immigration law.
Right, but
at the same time, he's telling his people, because this is a big issue for him and his voters, I'm going to enforce federal law.
Yeah.
I'm going to enforce it.
All right. Bill O'Reilly, thank you.